fight like a roaring fight, crypto and dreams under stadium lights, sweat and fire, hearts ignite. Evening sports buffet, with the Ginch replay.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We all getting ready for the big snowstorm. The plant snow enough to dampen the spirits of Indiana University International Football Championship. Thanks for joining. Early evening sports buffet with the Ginch and the Folk Entertainment Network. I am said Ginch. I am there.
Thanks to the Ginch Quartet there. I tried to get my little graphics here as close to the crimson and cream, as close as I could. I see he's in the green room. It's always a pleasure when he comes on. But before I bring him on, we got to do it proper, ladies and gentlemen.
If you didn't recognize this is the Indiana University Fight Center. They withstood Miami's body blows. They delivered the last body blow. They win the Natty. Hell of a game, by the way. But I wanted to get him on here. I would let this play all the way through. But without further ado,
I'm going to bring him on as soon as he pops up here. There he is. Let me make this a little bit larger. There he is, Mr. Dylan Sin. At Dylan Sin on the Twitter machine, IUND Notre Dame, Purdue, at Tin Caps beat writer for the Journal Gazette, at JG Fort Wayne. He is a millennial twit, as he always says here on the Twitter. A reader, IU, and hashtag Maryland Made alum comments, dsin at jg.net. Dylan, have you come down from the high from Monday yet?
I mean, it was a very long day getting home, so I was able to kind of process it that day. But I mean, as someone who covered this team since I was in school at IU, since 2014, I covered my first Indiana football game. I still really can't believe that it happened, but they did. Indiana is the national champion.
Yes, sir. I watched the entire game. I am not a Miami fan by any means, but as far as Indiana goes, this is probably, I can only go back so far, the most improbable story in the history of college football. It's the only look. I am a college historian. This is my passion, and I wanted to get Dylan on here because I believe a couple years ago, Indiana, they had their 700th loss as a program. The first ever with 700 losses. Dylan, perennial doormats for years and years and years. You had the Corso years. You had some of the Anthony Thompson years blended in there. They had Antoine Randall L. But look, I wanted to get you on because you went to school at Indiana. Are you from Indiana?
I am not. I'm from the Chicago suburbs, but I've lived in Indiana basically ever since I went to college there.
But Indiana's had to hear about Notre Dame. They've got to battle Purdue in basketball. Purdue's had their years in football. But look, what does this particular, and this is why I wanted to get you on here, explain what this actually means in terms of people from Indiana that have gone to the university, that have bled the colors, what this actually means to people from Indiana.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think there's kind of this narrative out there that most of Indiana, the football fans right now, are just bandwagon fans that kind of picked this team up just in the last couple of years. I don't really think that's true. I'm sure there are some of those, right? Because anytime a team wins a championship, you gain fans along the way. But I think there were a lot of people who wanted this team to be successful over the years. I've talked to a lot of them over the last year and a half or so here as this kind of has gained momentum. And it's very much like every year, I think we're going to be able to figure it out. And this didn't come out of nowhere, right? You could see this building for the last decade or so, probably not to this extent. I don't think anyone thought they were going to win a championship, at least until very close to it happening. But they were taking minor steps. They weren't the worst team in the Big Ten anymore, at least most years. And so you could see the investment coming from the administration. You could see the fan base building a little bit. And then it just took the right coach and the right people in place to get them off the mat. And so IU football has fans. They just needed the administration to care about it, and they finally did. They brought in a coach first in Tom Allen and gave him some resources, and then brought in Curt Cignetti and gave him enough resources to get this across the line. And it really is a remarkable story. But people here care about this. Let's be very clear about that. People here really, really wanted this. They really cared about it. They wanted to have a successful football program, and now they do. They have one that they can be proud of.
Yeah, and I can even go as far back as like when I was growing up. I mean, Indiana in the Big Ten, they were not good. And look, I mean, Lee Corso had his years. They've had years here and there, but nothing like this. And I think, Dylan, if anything, what Cignetti has done has shown the college football world, hey, you don't have to spend $25 million on a roster. I don't want guys. I don't want guys that are, hey, I'm all about the money. He wants to bring in guys that fit his system. And I say this all the time. You could have 22 blue chippers on your team, but if they're all about themselves and they don't buy into the system and they don't fit the system, it's not going to work. Now, he's still going to have his detractors because people are going to say, well, let's see if he can sustain this. Well, when you win championships and you win Big Ten titles, some of the guys aren't going to go for the big money. They want to play for a coach like that. So what do you see going forward? Look, I know Mendoza, I know his brother left, Alberto, but look, they went 16-0. He was part of a national title team. It's a hard act to follow, no matter who it's going to be at the quarterback position. I can't fault the kid for wanting to forge his own path. What do you see going forward off this championship?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a team that it's going to be around, right? Obviously, they're not going to go 16-0 every year. This was a special group of players that came together. And like you said, kind of they were in it for something bigger than themselves, right? And that's what Curt Cignetti's superpower has been over the last 4 or 5 years here, especially first at James Madison and then bringing those James Madison guys over to Indiana, was finding guys that really bought in, right? And that's really hard when a lot of the guys you're bringing in are transfers. Now, a lot of those guys he recruited out of high school to James Madison, and so he knew them and just brought them to Indiana. But like Mendoza was a transfer that he brought in, and Mendoza totally bought into his system, right? Pat Coogan was a transfer from Notre Dame, and he totally bought in to the system. Devin Boykin was a transfer that in the defensive backfield, totally bought into the system. He did a really good job, Cignetti did, of finding guys who really bought in. And that's really hard to do when you have a week and a half to recruit a guy, right? Finding out what he's made of. And they did a remarkably good job of doing that. And they're gonna try to do it again next year, right? They believe they have, first of all, a high school recruiting class that they like, but then they brought in a class of about 15 transfers. It's a smaller transfer class because they're building more through high schools now, but they brought in a class of transfers they really like, almost all of whom have power conference starting experience. They brought in power conference starters in this class. They brought in the quarterback with Josh Hoover, 9,000 yards, 80-something touchdowns at TCU, really experienced, very capable guy to follow Mendoza. So they feel like they have a team that can compete again next year. We'll see how much they lose to the NFL. There are guys that could have eligibility left that might go to the NFL because of how well they played this year, but we'll see over the next couple of days and weeks. But they feel like they're going to be a contender in the Big Ten going forward. They feel like they have a system that they have in place that is going to make that possible. And Curt Cignetti is not planning on slowing down. That was kind of his message in the championship game was, look, we won the whole thing, but what am I going to do? I love football. I love putting together a team. What else would I do other than try to do it again? And so I don't think they plan on going anywhere.
He froze just a bit there.
Yeah, it basically just that they don't plan on going anywhere is the main idea for Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers.
There we go. There I am. There's Dylan. Yeah, but it's technology and me, my friend. So you're just gonna have to bear with me.
No problem.
Let's see. At this, Lynn H says hi. Thanks for tuning in. So look, Paul Feinbaum in the middle of the year when they gave Cignetti the extension, he said Indiana was making a mistake. He's like the mouth of the South. I don't believe anything that really comes out of his mouth, to be quite honest with you. So, what does Cignetti's success signal to the rest of the college football landscape as far as NIL, transfer portal? I mean, he's done it in 2 years. He's had success wherever he's gone, Dylan. But for this kind of turnaround, what does this signal to the rest of the college football landscape?
Well, it gives a lot of other teams hope, right? That if you get the right guy in there with the right group of players, you can have high level success, right? And now I think, frankly, a lot of that is a little bit of false hope, right? Because Signetti, I think, is one of one. I don't think there are a lot of guys, if any, that could have done this the way that he did it. And part of it was that a big secret of Signetti's success was that they had a fantastic team at James Madison in 2023 that went 11-1, got him this job at Indiana, and that team was full of sophomores. Basically, they had guys who they brought to Indiana with multiple years of eligibility that made up the core of this team 2 years later. That is really, really rare. You're not going to find that most places. Most of these G5 teams that have a lot of success, they're full of seniors, right? That's usually the way football works. That team was full of sophomores and freshmen. Like D'Angelo Pons came over, one of the best corners in the country this year. He was a true freshman on that James Madison team. So there are guys on that team that came over and were part of a national champion 2 years later. I don't think that's going to happen very often, but it does signal to other teams that there's really no limitation on what you can do if you get the right guy in there with the right group of players, right? The glass ceiling of college football is not quite as is not going to constrain you as much as it once did, right? There is a path for non-blue bloods to win the title, and that's enticing to a lot of teams. I think that kind of the one thing I've been turning over in my mind over the last couple of days is how important this was for the sport. Right after we had the 2010s where it was just Alabama or Clemson every single year, and then you had Georgia back-to-back years, and you had Ohio State and Michigan. This is a signal to the rest of college football that they still matter, that they can still get out there if you get the right guy, and you can win at the highest level. This is a huge deal for college football. It's going to increase interest for every team, right? Because you can say, well, why can't we be Indiana? There's really no reason they can't be. You just got to go out there and raise the necessary money and get the right guy in place. And a lot of people are going to chase that and probably fall well short, but it gives a lot of teams hope, and that's good for the sport.
I've heard this a lot. What do you say to the clowns out there who say, well, Indiana had a bunch of 23, 24, 25-year-olds out there that probably should have been, some of them should have been in the NFL, and a lot of teams that they played were like a lot younger, and they were, what do you say to that?
I say that everyone is playing under the same rules. If that was so, it was so obvious the older players were going to win. Maybe some of these other teams should have had older players, right? Like that. It wasn't like Signetti found a loophole in the rules and said, "I'm just going to sign 25-year-olds," right? Like anyone could have done the exact same thing, and IU was able to do it. And also, I do think part of it is IU is not quite as old as people think it is, right? Like they have I think maybe 1 or 2 6th-year seniors in their starting lineup. Everyone else is 5th year or below, which is the same way college football has been forever. I cover Purdue basketball. Matt Painter says it all the time. Get old and stay old. That's the secret to success in college sports in general. IU just did that, and they plan on continuing to do it. Like, yeah, you can chase stars and recruiting rankings and have guys who leave for the NFL after 3 years. But if you want to win at a high level, you probably have to have some veterans on your team, and everyone's playing under the same rules. IU didn't do anything out of bounds. They just found a way to build success with a roster, and anyone has the same opportunity.
I looked up the college football recruiting rankings, supposedly the experts. 24/7 Sports right now has Indiana as the 34th ranked recruiting class in the nation. I think that would change with transfers and winning a national title. Where do we see Indiana in the recruiting in the next couple of months?
That's a great question. I am curious about that myself. I know they have several big time recruits on campus this weekend. They're having their championship celebration on Saturday. I think they're going to have some recruits on campus for that. It is one of those things where one of the most important things Indiana can do right now, what this coaching staff has to do right now, is build off of this, right? Use this as an opportunity to go get the best players you can. And obviously they still have to fit your system. They still have to fit the culture that you want to build, but there are talented players out there that fit that culture. Go find as many of them as you can and sell them right now. Strike while the iron's hot on, hey, you can win a championship here. You can play for, frankly, the best coaching staff in the country, right? That, like, I think it's like Signetti and his staff have a claim, and a very good one, on being the best staff in the country. Go convince some recruits that have a lot of talent and fit your system that they can play with that system and be developed and be successful. And so they should level up here in recruiting over the next couple of months. And they already have in transfer portal recruiting. They got a lot of guys who have a lot of talent out of the portal this offseason. Once again, now go get them from high schools and start developing them.
I was looking at, well, they only have three opponents here on the schedule that I'm looking at: North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky. And it's not showing me the rest of the schedule as of yet because Big Ten hasn't come out with it. Have they come out with the schedule or no?
They have not. The schedule comes out next Tuesday, but they announced the day after the championship game that IU will play Ohio State in Bloomington on October 17th. So they'll have the rematch, the Big Ten championship, but the rest of the schedule is still to be announced.
I mean, yeah, look at the schedule next year. The first three games should be W's. And then you said Ohio State. They've got Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue. Winnable games, obviously. USC at Michigan with Kyle Whittingham there. At Nebraska, Rutgers. Hey, look, the schedule sets up quite nicely for another run at a Big Ten title from what I'm looking at here, Dylan.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things where you get Ohio State in your house. We don't know how good USC is going to be yet. That should be a really fun game. We don't know how good Michigan's going to be. That should be a really fun game. If you win maybe two of those three, I feel like you have a pretty good chance to either make the Big Ten championship or at least the college football playoff again, and feel like you are continuing to maintain that level of success. So the schedule sets up for them to go win 9, 10, 11 games for a third year in a row. And at that point, you're rolling, right? There's really nothing. You turned over the entire roster at that point and you're still winning, and there's really not a whole lot of questions left. If you have one more season of success, it's kind of like, okay, IU's here now and they're just not going away, I guess.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. Let's turn to college basketball season for a little bit before I let you go. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the rest of the week as far as Indiana winning the national title, and everybody's going to be snowed in and celebrating. And I'll have to pick your brain once we get closer and closer to the tournament, once they come up with the rankings. Purdue still ranked 4th. They're up there. I don't see Indiana or Notre Dame ranked. Probably having less than stellar seasons. But when we're looking at Purdue in the annals of everything, obviously Arizona, top of the tops, they're undefeated. But when I look at, God, I can go down this list all the way maybe through the top 15. Now, Vanderbilt has taken a little bit of a dive here with 3 straight losses. But I can go from 1 all the way down to maybe 14 or 15, just like the college football season this year. The college basketball natty is way, way open for whoever wants it. You can go down the list here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's right there. Purdue just lost to UCLA on the road the other night. That was a tough loss, but it's UCLA on the road. They lost by 2. I don't really think that's anything to be super worried about. I think Purdue is a top 5 to 10 team somewhere in that range. And we'll see what happens when they play. They have games against Nebraska and against Michigan coming up. Those seem to be the top 3 or 4 teams in the Big Ten. You had Michigan State in there. Purdue plays Illinois on Saturday at Mackey Arena. That should be a fantastic game. So plenty to like about what the Boilermakers have done this year, 17-2. I would still make Michigan the favorite right now. They're not playing as well as they were early in the season, but they are when they're at their best, they are better than anyone in the sport, I think. But we'll have to see. There are a lot of teams that can win the whole thing this year, and that tournament is going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
That's Dylan Sin, ladies and gentlemen, Journal Gazette, IU grad. I'm so happy for Indiana fans. I really, really am. Just from the simple point is I've been watching college football most of my life. I know where the doormats they've been. I think it's a fantastic story. Talking to my buddy, it is a fantastic story for college football in general because it just proves that you don't have to spend a lot of money. Just bring guys in that fit your system with high character, buy into the system, play as one unit, and you can do great things. Dylan, thanks for coming on. Enjoy, and as we get closer, well, when they come out with the college football or the college basketball rankings, I'm going to do my second annual college basketball, March Madness preview show. Bring it back on, pick your brain, make your predictions, and but enjoy the rest of the college basketball season until we get to that point. Can you still hear me? Oh, he froze.
Yes, I can. Absolutely. I'll be here. I'll be happy to be on. Yeah, I'll be happy to be on for the college basketball show as well. Really looking forward to it. And thanks for having me on tonight, as always.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy.
All right. Have a great night.
All right, buddy. Dylan Sin, ladies and gentlemen. Got some At Nathan King, video live. Yeah, there's going to be a hell of a lot of snow and ice and sleet over the hills and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. I would try and post some of this other stuff, but it has nothing to do with sports. So, but yeah, I'm ecstatic for Indiana fans as far as football goes. We know the history as far as basketball goes in Indiana. That is without question. But what Kurt Cignetti has done there in Indiana in just a couple of years is it's mind-boggling. Gonna be another quick show today, but again, thanks for Dylan Sun for coming on. Breaking news: Baltimore Ravens have hired the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter as their next head coach, which is surprising to me because they just had a defensive head coach. Now, who he brings in as an offensive coordinator, I'm going to be looking for that because then we'll see what happens. But you just had a defensive coordinator, a defensive guy as your head coach. Now you're bringing another defensive guy. Not so sure I see the logic, but we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on who he brings in as his staff. As reported by Stephen Holder, ESPN, the Colts say FBI has launched probe into death of former owner Jim Irsay. And the potential involvement of a California doctor who reportedly prescribed him pain pills and ketamine. Ketamine has been big in the news because of what it does or does not do. Matthew Perry, obviously, who passed away a couple of years ago, Friends, Chandler. So it's been big in the news. Irsay died May last year at 65 from what was described as a cardiac arrest. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Ketamine mixed with other stuff can't be good. Some of the other news and notes reported by Jeff Kossouf, ESPN. Trinity Rodman contract saga has ended with a record Spirit deal. She signed a 3-year contract with the Washington Spirit to remain at the club, ending months-long uncertainty over the star's future. The new multi-million-dollar deal makes her the highest-paid player in league history at a salary of over $1 million annually. Sharon Moore, I guess his attorney wants all charges dropped. It's reported by ESPN News Services. The probable cause conference was adjourned until March 19th as the defense continued to collect evidence that Moore's attorney, Ellen Michaels, said would focus on accounts of the situation. Michaels said she filed a motion Thursday seeking to toss out the arrest report in a separate hearing scheduled for February 17th in front of Washtenaw County 14A-1 District Court Judge J. Cedric Simpson. Moore will next appear in court March 19th for the probable cause hearing. Michaels told reporters that Moore was arrested based on misleading statements. Michaels said outside the courthouse today after the status conference took issue with the account, saying statements from the staff member were misleading and full of omissions. She said, quote unquote, the arrest should be quashed, meaning the arrest is not valid, and any evidence taken or received as a result of that arrest should be quashed and suppressed. We are asking that the complaint be dismissed. It's our belief that without these misleading statements and omissions, there would be no probable cause for these charges. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Reported by Don Van Natta Jr., ESPN. NFLPA lawyer reveals she was fired in wake of raising legal concerns. This has been an ongoing issue. It just continues to get uglier. Some baseball news. The Rangers, get left-hander Mackenzie Gore in a 5-for-1 trade with the Washington Nationals. That was done today. In exchange for Gore, who turns 27 in February, the Nationals received a handful of prospects from the Rangers, including 18-year-old third baseman Gavin Fine, who was the 12th overall pick in last year's amateur draft. Gore, who has 2 years of team control left, will make an estimated $4.7 million this year and get up the front end of the Rangers' rotation. Blah, blah, blah. Don't know what that means, if it makes them better. If it doesn't, I don't know. The NFL came out with some of their finalists today. AP NFL awards in the same year. We got Christian McCaffrey as MVP, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, and Matthew Stafford. Coach of the Year candidates: Liam Cohen of the Jags, Ben Johnson of the Bears, Mike McDonald of the Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan, 49ers, and Mike Vrabel of the Patriots. Assistant Coach of the Year candidates: Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, and Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Comeback player of the year: Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, Stephon Diggs, Aiden Hutchinson, and Dak Prescott. Defensive player of the year candidates: Will Anderson of the Texans, edge rusher Nick Bonito of the Broncos, Myles Garrett of the Browns, Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions, and Micah Parsons of the Packers. Offensive player of the year candidates: Puka Nacua, Bijan Robinson, and Jackson Smith and Jigba join Mr. Drake May and Mr. McCaffrey. Defensive rookie of the year candidates: Giants edge rusher Abdul Carter, Seahawks defensive back Nick Emenwari, Falcons edge rusher James Pierce Jr., Browns linebacker Carson Schwezinger, and Falcons safety Xavier Watts are the finalists. Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates: Giants quarterback Jackson Dart, Buccaneers wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, Patriots running back Travion Henderson, Panthers wide receiver Tedoroa McMillan, and Saints quarterback Tyler Shuck are all the finalists there. Let's go to the NBA, shall we? Games from yesterday. The Celtics beat the Pacers 119-104. Leading scorer for the Pacers was Pascal Siakam with 32 points. He added 10 boards. For the Celtics, leading scorer was Jaylen Brown with 30. He added 10 boards. Thunder beat the Bucks. The Giannis trade watch is on. For Oklahoma City, the leading scorer was SAG. Go figure. He had 40. For the Bucks, leading scorer was Giannis, 19. He added 14 boards. Cavaliers beat the Hornets 94-87. The leading scorer for your Cavs, Donovan Mitchell with 24 points. Evan Mobley added 14 boards. For the Hornets, leading scorer was Brandon Miller with 24 points. The Knicks hammered the Nets 120-66. Leading scorer for the Nets, go figure, it was Michael Porter Jr. He had 12. For the Knicks, leading scorer was Jalen Brunson, 28 points. Hawks beat the Grizz 124-122. Leading scorer for the Hawks was Mr. Johnson with 32 points. He had 15 boards. For the Grizzlies, leading scorer was John Morant with 24 points. Pistons beat the Pelicans 112-104. For the Pistons, leading scorer was Mr. Doran with 20 points. He had 15 boards. For the Pelicans, leading scorer was Sadiq Bey with 20 points. Raptors beat the Kings 122-109. For the Raptors, leading scorers were Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, each with 23 apiece. For the Kings, your leading scorer was Russell Westbrook. Tonight's action, we got the Spurs at the Jazz, the Hornets at the Magic, the Rockets at the 76ers, the Nuggets at the Wizards, Warriors at the Mavs, Bulls at the Timberwolves, Lakers at the Clippers, and the Heat at the Blazers. NHL yesterday, the Red Wings beat the Maple Leafs 2-1. That was an OT. Penguins beat the Flames 4-1. Ducks beat the Avalanche 2-1. Mammoth beat the Flyers 5-4. The Kraken beat the Islanders 4-1, and the Canucks beat the Capitals 4-3. NHL tonight, the Golden Knights are at the Bruins, the Blackhawks are at the Hurricanes. Sabres are at the Canadiens, Stars are at the Blue Jackets, Senators are at the Preds. Panthers at the Jets, Penguins at the Oilers, and the Red Wings are at the Wild. PGA Tour out there at the La Quinta Country Club in La Quinta, California. Right now, Mr. Lee and Mr. Cootie are tied 10 under atop the leaderboard. The PGA Champions Tour right now, it's in progress. Out there at the Huala'alai Golf Club, Kailua Kona, Hawaii. Mr. Jay Haas on top right now at 6 under par. Go to the English Premier League, make my picks. Sunderland is at West Ham. I see that as being a 1-1 draw. Burnley will host Spurs. I've got that being a 2-2 draw. Fulham hosts Brighton. I've got it Fulham 1, Brighton. Fulham 2, Brighton 1. Man City will be hosting Wolves. What happened in Champions League this week for Man City, this could be 4-0. Bournemouth hosts Liverpool. I'm going to go Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 0. On Sunday, Arsenal hosts Man United. I have Arsenal winning 2-1. Brentford hosts Nottingham Forest. I have this 2-2 draw. Crystal Palace hosts Chelsea. I've got that as a 1-1 draw. Newcastle hosts Villa. I've got that being 2-2. And on Monday, Everton hosts Leeds. That could be a 0-0 draw. Again, big snowstorm coming for everybody. I think it was like 180 million people, 200 million people are going to be affected. Let's see. NCAA men's basketball top 25 action yesterday. Number 11 Illinois beat Maryland 89-70. Number 22 North Carolina hammered Notre Dame 91-69. Number 1 Arizona over Cincy 77-51. Number 7 Nebraska beat Washington 76-66. And number 8 Gonzaga handled Pepperdine 84-60. There are no top 25 teams in action tonight. Tomorrow, 2 games. Number 24, St. Louis is at St. Bonaventure. Number 3, Michigan hosts Ohio State. And over the weekend, there is much action. Some of these games are going to be canceled on Sunday, I believe, because of the weather, or maybe they won't be. I don't know. For the women, top 25 action yesterday. Number 22, West Virginia beat Arizona State 53-43. Wisconsin upset number 24, Nebraska 63-60. Number 14, Baylor hammered UCF 73-48. Number 19, Texas Tech fell to BYU 73-61. Number 25, Washington hammered Penn State 81-65. And number 3, UCLA crushed Purdue 96-48. On top tonight, right now in the second, number 7, Michigan up on Rutgers 38-22. In the second Big Ten tussle, number 10, Iowa up on number 15, Maryland, 29-20. Excuse me. Later on, at number 11, Kentucky at number 17, Tennessee. Number 1, UConn hosts number 1, UConn is at Georgetown. Number 2, South Carolina at number 16, Oklahoma. Auburn is at number 5, Vandy. Number 18, Ole Miss is at Mizzou. Number 12, Ohio State is hosting Indiana. And number 13, Michigan State hosting USC. Number 6, LSU is at Texas A&M. Down there in the Australia Open, as I'm looking through the scores here. On the number 9 seed, Fritz over Capriva, 6-1, 6-4, 7-6 in men's straight sets. Mr. Sinner, the number 2 seed, handles Duckworth in straight sets, 6-1, 6-4, 6-2. Number 12, Mr. Rude beat Mr. Munar 6-3, 7-5, 6-4 in straight sets. 7 p.m., the 25 seed, Mr. Tien, and Mr. Borges goes at it. Number 11 seed, Medvedev, will be playing Mr. Mirazan. 8:30 p.m. here, the 19 seed Paul and the number 14 Davidovich Fokina will square off. And then at 9:30 tonight, Mr. Alcaraz, the number 1 seed, will be going against the 32 seed, Mr. Moutet. Women's tennis down there in the Australian Open. Number 16 seed Naomi Osaka over Sostia, 6-3, 4-6, 6-2. The number 10 seed Bencic over Bartunkova. Actually, Bartunkova actually upset, 6-3, love 6, 6-4. Straight sets, the 5th seed Rybakina over Gracheva, 7-5, 6-2. 7 o'clock, the 17 seed Mboko and the number 14 seed Tazan will square off. 7:30 p.m., number 1 seed Miss Sabalenka and Miss Potapova. They will square off. 9 o'clock, Sonmez and Puditseva. Number 3 seed Coco Gauff and Miss Baptiste will square off. The number 19 seed Mukova and Lynette will square off. And at 1 a.m., the 29 seed Miss Jovic and Miss Paolini will square off. I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. The countdown's on to the Winter Olympics, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, NFL. Duh. So let's make the picks. The Patriots face off against the Broncos for the AFC Championship game. There we go. Sunday at 3 p.m. New England's favored by 4.5. Something has to give, because this is going to be a defensive struggle till the end. Drake May, great season. The Patriots, fantastic season. The Broncos minus Bo Nix with that injury. Jarrett Stidham will be in the game. I don't know why I'm making this pick, but I just think somehow, some way, the Broncos get this done. I'm going to go Broncos 21, Patriots 17. And then at 6:30 p.m. on Fox, the Rams at the Seahawks for the NFC crown. The Seahawks are favored by 2.5. Now, Zach Charbonnet out for the Seahawks. The Rams don't really know if they have any injury. Devontae Adams got banged up. My head's telling me the Rams, but my gut's telling me Seahawks. I just think the Seahawks defense at home, I think the Rams and the Seahawks split this year, but the Seahawks with some home cooking. Remember 2014, 2015, it was the Broncos and the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I think this is round number 2, 11 years later. I'm going to go Seahawks 27, Rams 24, which will set us up with the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl round 2, 11 years later. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Again, thanks to Dylan Sin for coming on. Thanks to everybody who tunes in, whether it's live or if it's you check out the replay. I appreciate you one and all. So, again, with this massive storm that we're going to get, check on your pets, check on your elderly neighbors, check on people, period. Help one another out. If you lose power, make sure you're prepared. Hunker down, because this one's going to be a doozy. With all that being said, as I end each show, practice compassion, practice empathy, have passion for what you do. Hug somebody every once in a while. You might make their day. Tell somebody you love them. Do it now, because you may not get a second opportunity. And for God's sakes, if you see somebody struggling in whatever fashion, ask questions, inquire. How can you help the person? How can we get them help? Because you might not just be saving a life. You might be saving a multitude of lives. So, with all that being said, enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Stay warm. Hunker down. The storm's going to be a bitch. There's only one thing left for me to do, and that's for Dandy Don to take me out. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night, the party's over. And tomorrow and next year starts the same old thing again.